الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله حق حمده والصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وأفوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد. اللهم صل صلاة كاملة وسلم سلاما تاما على سيدنا محمد الذي تنحل به العقد وتنفرج به الكرب وتقضى به الحوائج وتنال به الرغائب وحسن الخواتم ويستسقى الغمام بوجهه الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه في كل لمحة ونفس بعدد كل معلوم لك. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم إنا نسألك موجبات رحمتك. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا وقلبا خاشعا ولسانا ذاكرا وشاكرا وتوبة نصوحا. رب يسر ولا تعسر، رب تمم بالخير، رب زدني علما وفهما وألحقنا بالصالحين. يا حي يا قيوم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا قدوس يا سلام برحمتك أستغيث لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My respected brothers and very respected sisters, Jazakumullahu khairul jaza for joining us this evening for our FIQH class, Basic Personal Essential Islamic Knowledge class, organized by the Coburg Islamic Center in Melbourne, Australia. Before we start our class, let me remind yourself and myself that inshallah ta'ala next week, next Sunday, we will go back to our normal time of starting, which is at 7:30. We'll continue until about Maghrib time so that we don't delay starting our time, and this is the maximum we can go, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah into your lives. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah into our learning. Make us amongst those people who have received beneficial knowledge and who has put into practice those beneficial knowledge. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also remove this pandemic from the humanity and all of us, inshallah ta'ala. So without further ado, let us continue with exactly the same spot where we have left off last week in our Kitab al-Salat, in our fiqh. We have looked at the makruhat, the disliked things within Salat, those which were closer to haram and those who are not makruh at all within the Salat. Today, inshallah, we will continue from Salatul Marid, the prayer or the prayers of the sick person. This is an area where many people make mistakes and people take what is given as a license by the Sharia, the sacred law, to a certain degree that it is sometimes unrecognizable. I will explain inshallah ta'ala. As we all know, performance of salat, doing 5 daily salat, is of prime importance in our deen. As-salatu imaduddin. Salat is the back pillar of the religion. Without salat, there is such a fine line between Islam and not being a Muslim. Salat is the first thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to question us on the Day of Judgment. As soon as you reach the age of puberty, you become mukallaf, the age of taklif is upon you, until you breathe your last. No matter what circumstances that you are put in by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands you to perform your 5 daily salat. If you deny salat, you become a kafir. If you do not do your salat, it is a major, major sin. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all amongst Ahlul Salat. Therefore, the sacred law, the divine law, the Sharia, so to speak, lays great emphasis on its fulfillment. Even illness is not a valid reason, according to the Sharia, for neglecting one's salat. As long as you are conscious, as long as you enjoy sufficient health or strength, the performance of salat has to be done. And if you can stand, if you're a normal, healthy person, it must be done in the standing position, as we all know. Let me give you an extreme condition, then you can understand perhaps why I am emphasizing this already known point. Hypothetically speaking, if you were traveling in the middle of an ocean and for some reason your boat has capsized and perhaps broken into pieces, it hit a rock or something as such due to some external factor, and you ended up in the water. You are alive and you are conscious, and you looked up in the heavens and you saw that it is Dhuhr time. You realize this, and you are in the middle of the ocean. You don't even know if you're going to survive next half an hour, if there are sharks or not. You've got no idea. But you just looked up and realized the sun has passed its zenith and Dhuhr has entered. It is still fard upon you, compulsory upon you, to perform your salat. How, you say? There is no how. There is a ways and means for the willing. Even in that condition, you can do your salat, because you are not unconscious. You have not fainted. You realize that it is Dhuhr time. No excuse. Sickness is not an excuse for omitting one's salat. However, if due to illness, under normal circumstances, you have to pray normal way, standing, ruku, sujood, qiyam, all performed properly. But if due to illness, the praying person, the musalli, find yourself that you are unable to stand and perform your salat, or because you have genuine fear in your heart that by doing so, by standing and performing your salat in the normal way, that your illness, your sickness will grow worse, then you must sit on the ground. Read my lips. Emphasis is on the ground, not on a chair, not on your couch. Sitting in our deen is a position of humility, and you're going to pray before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. just because you feel a little bit of dizzy, oh, give me the chair. You can go to Ruku, you can go to Sujood, no problem. To sit on the chair is not something that is recommended in our religion. And yet nowadays you go to the masajid, it's filled with chairs everywhere. We're not Christians. Our ancestors, Muslims, when they were sick, they would pray, but they will pray in a sitting position on the ground, and they will perform from that sitting position, making ruku' and making sujood in more or less the usual way, but while sitting down. So the first preference is always sitting down on the ground. If you are unable to even sit and perform your salat, you may lie down on your back or on your side. Still make the effort to discharge the obligation, fard of salat. No excuse. Let me go through in point by point form, perhaps in a more structured manner, the points pertaining to a sick person's prayer. The way of making ruku' whilst performing salat in the sitting position is to bow the head to almost reaching the knees. Say I am sitting, my hands are in qiyam position, but I am sitting in the salat position because I am sick, unable to stand. Then when I want to go to ruku', I put my hands on my thighs and I bend as much as possible, all the way to my knee, to the best of my ability. This is the ruku' position. Almost to the knee. If the musalli due to illness is unable to make ruku' and sajdah, of course sajdah is normal in the previous point, he should try to make ruku' and sajdah by means of motioning of the head. In other words, make sajdah, ruku' and sajdah with moving your head. How? You are in the sitting position, you're so sick, you could hardly concentrate. You read your Fatiha and Surah, it's time to go to ruku'. Then little bit move your head towards, like bowing to somebody with your head halfway. That is ruku'. Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. Sami'a Allahu liman hamida. Rabbana wa lakal hamd. Then you go to even a little bit more further than your ruku' and you say Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la 3 times. Sajdah. This is jalsa, and go to sajdah again. If the illness, the sickness that you're going through is so serious that you do not even have sufficient strength to even sit and perform your salat, then next permissible step is for you to lie down. Lie down and perform it. If there are people around you, they should place some pillows under your head or on your back, enabling the head to be raised a little bit. The legs should be outstretched towards the Qibla, if possible. And if possible, legs should be drawn up a little bit, not fully straight. If you have the ability to fold a little bit, this is part of the adab. Salat then should be then performed in this position, making ruku' and sajdah by movements of the head, indicating with your head again, like we did before. No excuse. If the illness is as such that is not possible to perform salat by even motioning the head, you don't even have the strength to even move your head, you're so sick that you can't even move anything at all, in this case salat cannot be performed due to Malayutaku Rule. I have put that in square brackets. Malayutaku is a notion meaning that you do not have any ability at all. You have been incapacitated even to perform salat with your head that motions. You cannot even do that. Let me give you some example of ma la yutaq. Taklif by the Sharia is upon a person who is mukallaf, a person who is able to do so. Af'al al-mukallafin that we have explained before, that a person becomes responsible for his own actions if that person is a Muslim, if that person is intelligent, and if that person has reached the age of puberty. 3 conditions. Then you have to perform everything that the Sharia asks you because you are considered to be an adult, a mukallaf. Taklif is upon you. But Sharia under no circumstances puts any taklif upon a person where it is beyond his capacity. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. No taklif is put on to a person who cannot bear it. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به. طاقة, ability to do something. Oh Allah, do not burden us with things that we cannot, incapable of bearing. Something that is unbearable, which is impossible in the Sharia. If you do not have a left arm for some reason, due to sickness or some other reason, in an accident, you have lost your left arm. Your left arm is amputated all the way from the shoulder. You don't have one. And in wudu, you have to wash your arms, correct? So if you're washing your right arm, mashallah, with the water, subhanallah, then it comes to the left arm, you don't have a left arm. Is your wudu incorrect? Definitely not. Because you do not have a left arm to wash in the first place. Therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not question you for something that you do not have. If you had it, yes, you would be responsible. but you don't have such a left arm in the first place to wash, Allah will not question you, because it is beyond your capacity. Under normal circumstances, therefore, to do your salat is of course fard. But if that ability to perform that fard salat is completely taken away from you, all the movements that will enable you to perform your salat is completely removed from you. You don't have any taqah, ma la yutaq. You don't have the ability any longer to perform, then the Sharia removes that responsibility of performing that salat from you. You are in plaster, you're from head to tail, head to toe, all the way down. You can't move. You can't even move your eyes. You can't talk even. And yet, adhan is called. Yes, you are conscious, but how are you going to do your salat? We will look at this point again towards the end. Unconsciousness for more than 24 hours. Before we do that, let's finish that Malayutaku Rule. Should the condition of the sick person remain in the state for more than 24 hours, the obligation of salat is waived. If you're in this situation and 24 hours have passed, you missed more than 5 salats, so to speak, you are no longer required to make even qada of the salat if you were to gain your health. Even after recovering, no qada is to be performed for missing any salat under such extreme condition of illness. There is a spelling mistake. There is no qada supposed to be. Point 5. Unconsciousness for more than 24 hours is a factor which waives the obligation of salat, which we just stated. In this case, even after regaining consciousness, no qada is to be offered for the salat missed in the state of unconsciousness. If, however, the state of unconsciousness lasted less than 24 hours, qada of the missed salat will have to be made upon regaining consciousness. You fainted. You had a seizure. You were knocked down, concussion, that you are in ICU. You were in the ambulance that you can't remember, in a car accident, or anything as such. If it continues more than 24 hours, you are not responsible for the salats that you have missed during that time. However, if the state of unconsciousness lasted less than 24 hours, less than 5 daily salat, in other words, it only lasted for 3 awqat, from dhuhr till isha, not until next dhuhr, the following day, then you need to make qada of the ones that you have missed, although you were unconscious. The rule is 24 hours of madness or insanity or losing your mind, being unconscious, fainted. If during the salat, while performing salat, if the musalli, the praying person, all of a sudden becomes sick and cannot continue with the salat, he had a tight chest, perhaps he has a seizure, or he might have a muscle cramp, could happen. He may sit and complete the salat, or he may even lie down if unable to sit but continue with the salat. but you know that there is no danger to your life. You're not having a cardiac arrest, so to speak. In that case, you are not in control. You will be dead probably before you finish your salat. But sometimes, while you are sitting or standing, you might have a very severe muscle cramp on your leg, perhaps on your chest, on your back. It is best for you to just sit down and continue under the circumstances that salat, without breaking. But from a normal salat, it becomes a sick person salat from that point onwards. If a sick person, point number 7, is unable to make ruku' or sajdah for that matter, but is able to stand, then according to Imam Azam Abu Hanifa, our Imam of our school of thought, the fatwa on that is that it is better for one to sit and perform the prayer than to stand. According to Imam Azam Abu Hanifa, if a person he's sick, he cannot make ruku or sujood, he can only stand. This is the fatwa of Imam Azam Abu Hanifa. It is better for him to sit down and in that sitting position continue with his salat. Then when performing the prayer, in the sitting position, one may, by motioning with his head, make ruku, and by nodding one's head a bit lower, make sajdah. The mode of salat changes. If a sick person does not have the strength to either stand or make ruku' or sajdah, then he may perform the prayer sitting by motioning with his head. Furthermore, as we said just before, if a sick person is unable even to sit, then one may perform the prayer on his back, arranging one's 2 feet so that they face towards Qibla, or if one prefers, one may perform it lying on one side with one's face towards the Qibla, and motioning one's head with ruku and sajdah. Doesn't have to be on the back. Maybe it's not possible. Sometimes it is better to be on the right-hand side or the left-hand side, whatever is comfortable. But in either case, the fard of facing towards Qibla should also be fulfilled to the best of one's ability. If a sick person is unable even to motion with his head, then he may put off making salat, performing salat, until such a time he is able to motion. Wait, if there is more time. So this happened right at the beginning of Dhuhr, 1 o'clock, and Asr is at 6:30. You've got 6.5 hours time, 5.5 hours time. Perhaps you should wait a little bit. If we cannot move and is waiting, if during this period, because he's unable, during this period of offering no prayers due to disabling, incapacitating illness, that he is right in the middle of pain, if he were to die, he is excused and will not die as a wrongdoer. Allah will not question him because he was incapable of doing. If one praying, the musalli should become ill while performing prayer, on the normal way, he may complete the salat in whatever way he can. If he needs to sit, sit down. If he needs to lie down, lie down. but continue with your salat without breaking your salat, and complete your salat quickly as possible. The next point, if while a sick person is performing salat from a sitting position, making sajdah and ruku more or less the usual way, so he's not that serious, but he cannot stand up, maybe he feels dizzy, maybe his blood pressure has dropped down, or some other issue, should suddenly become able to stand. In other words, his dizziness has gone, he feels good. He already did 1 rakat of salat while in that sitting position, but he feels that he's good, he's able to stand up, not a problem, and there is no fear of any kind, then he should do so. And thus complete the prayer from the standing position in the usual way. According to the second student of Imam Azam Abu Hanifa, Imam Muhammad Hassan al-Shaybani rahimahullah, he gives the fatwa that this person should start the salat anew, redo his salat. Perhaps it's a more precautionary measure, but if you did not, your salat is still valid. If while a sick person is performing salat, making sajdah and ruku by motioning with his head, becomes able to make sajdah and ruku, or ruku and sajdah, then according to all of the imams, all of the ulama in Ḥanafī school, he should start the salat over again. As simple as this. Now let us look at the salat, the make-up of prayer of the insane. Although we have slightly touched upon this particular issue, we will inshallah revisit so that we understand, comprehend it better. If a person should lose his mind, his consciousness, or go temporarily insane for a period of less than 24 hours, less than 24 hours is the operative word here, he will be responsible for qada of the prayers missed in that period. Less than 24 hours, he needs to make qada of the salats that he has missed. If his disability should last even a moment longer than 24 hours, he will not be responsible for making up those prayers. Again, according to Imam Muhammad Hassan al-Shaybani rahimahullah, and the fatwa is given here on his opinion, such a person will be responsible for qada until the time of the sixth salat. In other words, 5 full salats, if he were to miss, he needs to make qada. Less than 24 hours. We have a footnote in this regard. In other words, the times of 5 salats will have had to pass completely. For example, if a person fainted or lost his mind, became unconscious, became mad at 10 a.m., hypothetically speaking, and does not regain his normal sanity until 11 a.m. the next day, one will not be responsible for qada, according to the other imams. According to Imam Muhammad, however, one will be responsible for qada And according to Imam Muhammad and all the later mutaakhirin Ḥanafī ulama, one will have to remain unconscious until the coming of the time of the 6th prayer. In this case, the beginning of the time of Dhuhr, before one will be absolved of the responsibility of making qada. And this is a direct quote from Ibn Abidin's Raddul Mukhtar. So those who are technically minded and they can do further research, they can go to Raddul Mukhtar of Ibn Abidin, which is the final Ḥanafī book of Ahkam Fiqh. You will find it, inshallah ta'ala. I do not know whether I should stop here, but I will perhaps continue for another 5 minutes or so. This topic, next topic, is a bit more extensive and where many mistakes are made, and we need to study this thoroughly. The traveler. When a person travels, naturally, Islam gives special concession for such people if they fulfill certain requirements, if they have the option of fasting or not fasting, and if they are praying, a musafir, a traveler, he can shorten his four rakat salats. A musafir, in the terminology of the sacred law, Sharia, in fiqh, is one who undertakes a journey of 90 kilometers with the express intention of traveling. Before you jump up and down, because you saw in some books it's regarded as 48 miles. I do not know how this 48 miles, which is equivalent to 77 point something kilometers, but according to the Ḥanafī books, that where I have learnt, it is always stated as in kilometers, and it is 90 kilometers. How is this calculated? I mean, where did we come up with this 90 kilometers anyway? In Islam, there is always a logical base for many of the rulings. Firstly, regardless of the changes in mode of transportation, methods of transportation, means of traveling in any given period of our lives, whether you travel by air, by beam me up Scotty, or a jet propeller, or a horse, or I do not know, helicopter, whatever it is, this will be put aside, and the basic human form of traveling, that is walking on land, for a normal human being will be taken into consideration first for the calculation of the distance that one travels. And of course, in our fiqh books, we would also find that normal walking, long distance walking of a camel is also regarded as like walking human speed. When people used to travel from one city to another city, and camels were the semi-trailers at that time, where they transport goods, they used to walk next to their camel. That is the walking distance. That is the basis. If you are traveling on the sea, normal speed of a boat, a ship, with a normal wind and with a normal sails, is taken as basis for traveling in the sea. Let me give you some simple figures and perhaps it'll make your mind at ease. Minus the rest time and the sleeping time at night, a normal person can walk on land 5 kilometers per hour, usually. But that's a standard. 5 kilometers you can walk in 1 hour. And a normal human being, a healthy human being, in a day, he can walk for 6 hours comfortably. 6 times 5 kilometers an hour makes 30 kilometers in a day. And then you must take a rest, sleep, and the following day, after rested, you continue with the journey. 3 days of journey, 30 kilometers a day, makes 90. When a person intends to travel a distance of 3 days journey at 30 kilometers a day, makes it 90 kilometers. This is the basic calculation. It is used in our fiqh. Similarly, in a sea journey, of course the sails are different, the wind is a little bit different. A normal ship, normal boat with normal sails, with normal wind, will be able to journey 30 nautical miles in a day, and in 3 days 90 nautical miles, which is, when you convert to kilometers, it's a little bit more than 90 kilometers. So what happens if you make an intention to journey in your heart a distance more than 90 kilometers? Whether you have undertaken that journey with a plane, a Cessna plane, a Cherokee plane, or a helicopter, or Tayyi Makan for that reason, for spiritually inclined. If you did that speed, in a speed by train or by bus, it does not matter. As long as you go over 90 kilometers distance, you are regarded as a traveler. But that's your intention in your heart. It doesn't matter the mode of transportation or what apparatus that you have used, what vehicle that you have used is irrelevant. The basis of calculation is on walking. So when you travel, when you become officially musafir, and there are conditions I'm going to talk about inshallah ta'ala, perhaps next week in more detail, the sacred law, the Sharia, bestows certain concessions on the musafir, the one who takes the safar, the ones who takes this journey, the journeying person, traveler, musafir. And with regard to his salat in particular, he gets special concessions that he must take according to Ḥanafī school. First, instead of 4 rakats fard, of every 4 rakat fard salat in that day, he reduces them to 2 rakats. And secondly, he has the option of performing sunnats, additional salat, as they are. You cannot shorten them, but you have the option of not performing any sunnats at all if you so desire. 4 rakat salats are reduced to 2. Other Fajr, for example, 2, does not change. Maghrib, does not change, but Dhuhr, Asr and Isha, 4, each one is the 4, reduced down to 2. You cannot perform them as 4, and you have the option of not performing your sunnahs. But if you have plenty of time, you can do your sunnahs if you want to, but you cannot shorten, you cannot do your fard 4 rakats as full, as normal. This is where, inshallah ta'ala, I intend to stop today. We will look at other issues and other pertinent points, important points in relation to traveling and traveler's prayer, inshallah ta'ala, next week. Just reminder, next week we shall start at 7:30, our normal class time. Instead of waiting for Maghrib, we will finish perhaps 5 minutes or so after Maghrib, so that we do not miss Maghrib also next week. Jazakumullah khair jaza. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our efforts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala include our names amongst the mukhlasin. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our beneficial knowledge. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with beneficial knowledge and our loved ones with beneficial knowledge. Include our names amongst Ahlul Salat and amongst the Sajideen and Raki'een, those who are always in Ruku and Sajdah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala include our names amongst the Abideen. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صدق الله العظيم لله تعالى الفاتحة. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.